Greetings, groovy people. Welcome to the channel. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon, welcoming you here. June is Pride Month, and in lieu of that, but also in celebration of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling regarding Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Congratulations, everyone. But don't think that, just because something's a law, keep up the good fight. This week, I'm going to talk about Rin, as well as some of the other characters in Dark Horse representing the LGBTQ plus community. Please forgive me if I just say LGBT sometimes. I stumble over myself sometimes, so if I do that, it's not intentional. But this video is Love is Free. First, in the background, I am sketching a page from Act 4 of my free not safe for work webcomic Dark Horse, of which Rhina and the characters I am talking about are from this comic. The links for it are all in the description. Now, it's only a coincidence that the upcoming scene that's going to be posting on my main website and on Tapas is being posted during Pride Month. It's already been up on Comic Fury since around 2015-ish. I may have updated some of the dialogue in 2016, I can't remember. But I am, all the same, and very pleased with how this scene, Word of Wednesday, dovetails with Pride Month. I'm going to claim credit for it. I'm going to claim credit for this fluke, but I'm going with it. I'm happy. It's very serendipitous. So last time I talked about Rhina in any great detail, it was like back in January, in February of 2019. And I touched upon Rhina's crush on her longtime friend, Mia Denley, who people reading over on Comic Fury know who Mia is. She was briefly mentioned in Act 1, just as kind of a setting it up for future events. But Mia is someone who she's pretty much known her whole life and has grown very close to. Now, I want to be fair. One of the reasons why I don't, I know on Tapas you can label your comic as like LGBTQ comic, but I don't label Dark Horse as such because I feel that would be very disingenuous. The primary focus of this post-apocalyptic fantasy is their fight against the demon Keisuma. So I feel like it would just kind of be, the representation's going to be there, but I feel it would be very disingenuous, like I was just trying to grab a larger audience, when that's not like the main focus of the story. So I'm talking about these characters, but I don't feel it would be fair for me to claim this as a comic that, is solely to promote representation. I'm just trying to include characters that I like from a variety of different backgrounds, which is more realistic than just ignoring that people exist. So, but like I was saying, a goal of mine has been to have a diverse cast of characters and to, where I can and where I'm capable of, as both a writer and an artist, include that representation. I am going to touch upon it a little bit in the story. The characters are going to have to make judgments based on how to rebuild the country after the mass devastation. And so obviously this is going to be a subject that they're not going to be able to avoid, but like I said, it's not going to be like a main central theme in the comic. But yeah, I've always been kind of like this type of writer that I don't like insulting people's intelligence. I will say flat out, I absolutely hate Ready Player One. It's one of the few books that I intentionally just tossed out. I recycled that book. It was so awful to me because it just insulted my intelligence so much. I don't want to get into it, but I'm not a fan of it. If you like it, you have that right to your opinion, but I just thought it was like, this is so... yeah, whatever. I don't need to get on tangents. But I've always wanted to try to avoid smashing people over the head with a hammer of symbolism and all this. I want that to be there. I want things to be there, but I don't want to, like, insult my audience's intelligence. Especially if you're dealing with an older audience, I feel they tend to be a little, well, I don't know. What the hell? I don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the point is there's going to be people of varying sexualities, religions, race, genders, but there's also a delicate line that I have to tread because society as we know it in this story ended in the late 1990s, early 2000s. So what I mean to say, I'm really sucking at words. Use your words, Blue. I guess what I mean is that I have to try to treat the characters as society and the media was before our current heightened awareness of, like the terminology that we use today. Things like transgender rights or the popularization of pansexual or non binary. While, of course, people representing these genders and sexualities have always existed, awareness and mass promotion, I'm not picking the right word, but the awareness of this is not something that, God, even today, people in some communities have no idea. If you told them in my hometown that you're pansexual, they probably not know what the fuck you're talking about. So the clock stops in the late 90s, early 2000s, and so terms like this didn't exist at the time, but I'm still trying to represent those people. So, for example, in the comic, we're talking about Rhina. She will be referring to herself as bisexual, as will other characters in the story, but she would more realistically be considered pansexual. She believes you can be attracted to any gender. I mean, the gender of the person to her is immaterial, whether it be, cis male or female, trans, non-binary. That in her eyes isn't what she is attracted to. She's attracted to the person within, and to her the gender plays no role in that. But in 2000, the term pansexual was not really, it wasn't as widely utilized as we see it today. I'm not saying it did not exist, but I'm saying it was not something that you found in like the media as much at the time. So it's really tricky to show accurate representation while still trying to be within the confines of kinda historic representation, if that, I don't know if any of that makes sense. But another example of that is my character Zhui Feng, which we haven't seen yet, and warning for anyone with sensitivities when discussing, gender dysphoria. This specific character, I talked about her in this video last year. I mispronounced her name awful. Kept calling her, I don't even remember what I called her. I need to forget it so that I don't let it slip, but it's Zhui Feng. But by today's standards, we would consider her to be trans. But at the time period, while of course transsexuals had that terminology had existed. I mean, God, you can even look back to like Hedwig and the Angry Itch, which was like an underground cult classic from the late 90s. But just because something existed at the time does not necessarily mean that it was well known to the general populace. In fact, a lot of times it was mostly used as like a derogatory term. Well, not the full word, but I'm not going to say the derogatory term because I don't use that language. So what's going to happen with Zhui Feng is that the characters in the story are not going to understand who she is, and she will be mislabeled as transvestite rather than transgendered, or she would be considered a crossdresser when in fact she would more accurately be described as transgender. She's just not on hormones and obviously is unable to obtain any type of surgeries, which is probably the way she would have gone if society had not imploded upon itself. Getting back to Rhina, one of her personal core tenets, which will be challenged, is that generally speaking, she believes people are good, and all you really need to do is to try to put yourself in their shoes to understand and lead by example, and that love is free to both give and receive. And that's just the answer to everything, because she is still fairly young and naive, and everyone just needs to wake up and realize that, this is the case, and then once they do that, we can all live harmoniously and utopia will be achieved. This is why it makes a lot of sense that Rhina is very open to having a relationship with someone of any gender, provided that, of course, they are consenting. She believes you could fall in love with anyone. So that, my friends, is all I've got for this video. I hope I didn't stumble on my words too much. It's kind of a sensitive topic, but it shouldn't be. We should all be talking about stuff. But at any rate, question of the week: who is your favorite LGBTQ plus character? I have quite a few. I've already talked about Soma from Clamp's Rig Beta in this video. I loved Noriko from Fushigi Yugi and was massively pissed at how poorly the writer handled her, but she was very influential to me at the time. And of course, Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series. I definitely loved Willow. She was my favorite. Oh my god, I love Willow. But anyway, if you like these videos and you want to donate, you can do so at any of the links below, and it is super, super appreciated. Otherwise, if you like, you can, you can do the like, sub, do the bell thing, all that good stuff. And please take care of each other and try to be understanding of each other out there. There's still a virus out there, so please be careful, even though in the US we're reopening everything and just kind of ignoring the disease. Please just be careful. Peace and love, fare you well, and keep on trucking.